Hi, welcome to another podcast. Before we start, I know it's long again, so if you're interested in some parts, you can check the timeline. But without further ado, let's get at it.
Ladder points and the fact that Card Gamer and Chekhov don't. Like, granted, are they going to like get ladder points? Probably. Like, I'm sure they'll eventually get ladder points from like Eternal, or maybe they'll kick it up in Standard. But the fact that like Bones from his one like top 8 is above someone that won the first major is like fucking hilarious.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. But like, everyone's like, okay, this is gonna be Eternal ladder. But you know how many people already told me that they're gonna be on the Eternal ladder? Like,
Yeah.
it's not gonna be fun place, and especially if the MMR is still gonna be broken.
Yeah. That's why I put like tentative ladder points. Like I put like plus ladder, so I didn't want to give you like, oh, this is Ikato has 14 points, because that's like not true. He has 11 points, and then like at the current moment he has 3 ladder points.
Yeah.
Same with like Bones. Like at the current moment, Bones has 4 ladder points, but like, we don't actually know how many ladder points they get for a while.
Yeah.
I think it
like,
ends
I'm
in.
definitely gonna go for the 5. Like, I have 11, but I'm won the 16, of course.
I think ladder ends in like a month and a half or so.
So Gauntlet says the season ends in 41 days or something.
Okay.
But that is like well after when the next 2 opens happen.
Yeah, that's my
So
understanding is that is
really weird.
intentional.
Oh, is that the cut?
That
Is
isn't-
that the cutoff? Oh,
Yeah, my understanding is that is not like a mistake. That is like actually how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
well, that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, yeah, the Gauntlet tab tells you like season ends in how many days? But
Yeah, the
it's
other
like
thing is
40 or
like
something.
you see this thing where like there's these like ladder ringers that aren't really putting up in like tournaments, and so it's like how many worlds points are going to go to people who like can't realistically use them. So
Yeah, I think it doesn't like matter, because it's not like the old Worlds point system where it's just like, oh, you need X amount of points to qualify for the pre-qualifier, and then like you can get in. I think it's like, yeah, you kind of just look at like, I don't think we've already had this conversation in a lot of chats where it's like you're not actually getting 5 points from top 10, you're getting
Yeah.
like 2. Right,
Yeah.
like Bones is really getting like 1 point. Like he randomly has 4 points over specifically Card Gamer and Chekhov, but realistically, like against him and Ikato, he has like 1 point.
yeah.
But
Yeah, I would not be surprised. Like, obviously, this list is like current, and so it's like subject to change. But
sure.
I would be shocked if Card Gamer and Chekhov didn't
Yeah,
like
ain't no way.
hard grind ladder, knowing
One
what's
of the
going
two.
on.
Yeah, there ain't no way. I think if you're on this list, you hard grind ladder. I think if you're not on this list, you just like play for yearly points. You kind of just like chill. Like I'm much happy. Like knowing I cannot qualify for this season, I'm done trying to get top 10.
Yeah.
Like I'm just gonna chill, like top 50 minimum, but like I'll probably try for like top 25. But I'm done playing my like 30 games a day trying to maintain 100 LP a day to keep up with this fucking shit, or 100 LP a week. But
Yeah,
I guess we can start whenever.
If you
Well,
do
the
well in
question-
some opens, I'd probably go back to grinding ladder. But like, see how you do in opens before you decide to commit a bunch of time in your life to ladder.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like also like you still gonna need like these points in the end of the year, right? So like
Yeah,
there's
that's what.
still
Yeah.
content, right? Like
Right, like I'm not giving up, but I that's why I'm happy with like a top 25 finish versus like I don't need a top 10 finish, because I don't need that one extra point. Like put it come and bite me in the ass, like sure. But like I'd much rather save like actual mental and like real life mental and real
Yeah.
life satisfaction over like 1 or 2 points or something. And then like if it happens, it happens.
I mean,
Alright.
my situation completely goated. I am just
Yeah,
free
you're
of
nuts.
ladder. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah, that's why I like, that's honestly the best thing about winning this is people thought it was a meme where I was like, oh, I want to win so I don't have to play more Runeterra. Like obviously I want to play Runeterra, but I don't want to play Runeterra in the way that I'm playing it now. Like I don't want to have to climb 2000 LP a season. I don't want to have to like stress so much about this, that, the other. Like just fucking qualify and then kick back for the next 9 months. Is Micah gonna play? Sure, but like,
Yeah,
is he gonna stay here and play 2000 plus LP every season?
Yeah, it's particularly good because like I've had this like constant like personal struggle of like, okay, I kind of want to try streaming more frequently. I don't really have a Smurf built up. I don't really want to deal with that. And so I'm sitting here like, okay, do I play on stream? I'm definitely gonna play worse and I'm gonna lose LP. LP is really important to me.
Welcome to the life of a streamer, man.
What am I supposed to do here? And like that problem just went away for winning. I was just like, oh, I can just stream and like if I'm 0 LP, who cares?
Yeah, another hard part is being like hiding strategies in a way, because like I don't expect you to just like leak everything we talk about or create and stuff like that from the comp or from our team when you're streaming now, but it's definitely like a lot less frustrating if you would be like solo and doing it, because you're like, oh yeah, this is how you play this matchup. This is exactly how you win the mirror match. If you don't do this thing, you're dumb. And it doesn't matter because you don't care if these people beat you, or you don't care if they have this knowledge when you play against them now, because fuck it, you're already qualified. Who cares?
Yeah. Also, I posted in the Ganero the EU. I don't think it's like accurate. Maybe that's some mistake, but like this is what it looks. It looks pretty close.
Okay. So
But
you want to do an intro then, and we can start the podcast.
I guess we kind of already started now, didn't we? So
Yeah,
like
we
I can
did.
cut it sometime.
Okay, Tilted. Tilted was
Was the finalist,
finalist
right?
this time. Yeah, Baki. Boki is like the person I would like point to of like they seem to be getting consistent Runeterra points. They're not just like on here once or whatever. So, although BaJA, you're pretty high up there, so
Yeah.
definitely need to grind ladder.
Is this not? Yeah, I would say, is this like not including the ladder points
No,
and stuff?
yeah.
I assume?
I have 16 like currently with like this. So.
Okay. Yeah, I think everyone
so-
on here is probably.
But it's gonna be like very
contention.
close, like yeah. But of course, like yeah. For example, about the last open winners fought now, so you know, for example, like the interesting thing about that.
I mean, the World's
like card
Qualifier
gamers,
Open
like-
matters, so.
Well, yeah, the World's Qualifier Open, so, like, this just shows how much it matters in the sense of like, I think I was being a little bit too dramatic about how like the first Open doesn't matter, the World's Qualifier matters like only, basically. It's like if you don't do well here, you have no chance, which is like obviously not true because Card Gamer is still very much in the running with his 12 points. But if anything, it does show you just how impactful the World's Qualifier Open is. The fact that Card Gamer is in the running, but he is not even like in the top of the running. At the moment.
I mean, I think it's
Off
like
the bat,
really clear from the EU one of like the person with the most Runeterra points is the person who got second at the World Qualifier Open. Like,
yeah.
So it's just like the World Qualifier one is literally just so important, especially with the one in the seasons where there's only 3. Like imagine like look at these and then say like, oh, there's only one more tournament to do well. Like you're almost locked if you're like Tilted Baki or like Robo.
Yeah.
Because of like a 3-point difference is actually like pretty big. It's like the difference from getting top 4 and top 8.
Yes.
It's like a whole like round difference. Like granted, we have 2 open, so it's gonna be different this time, but
I mean, the people who are like on this list are pretty low. Like I'd use Gouda as an example because he's like on the list, has a lot of points, but he's low compared to the other people. Like Gouda has to do well in an upcoming Open, and like not just like top cut. Like Gouda has to top 8 or something.
It's like top 2 to pass these guys.
I mean, there's
like,
2 open, so you can probably like top 8, top 8.
Okay, we were talking about 2 open, sure.
But like with 1 open, like the man probably would minimum have to top 4 and have a good ladder placement.
And the other people would have to shit the bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, yeah. Keep in mind that like there's some, like maybe Gora is maybe somebody bit above him. It's like really in fast way, but you have to be thinking that there's like some people with 5 points, and like the person with 5 points can win the next Open. Like he has 17, and you know like it's then like big jump. And like if for example Gora goes on like top 8, he has 15. So like then he's the person with 17 is above him, right? So you know something to keep in mind definitely.
Yeah, I think this is about on track where people started guessing after we saw the first Open and how the start panning out. I think a lot of people are assuming on a regular season that the points to qualify is going to be like low to mid 20s. So like 24, I think was the number a lot of people threw out, like 24, 25. That still sounds kind of high to me, but I think if you can hit that number, you're kind of just like locked. So like looking at this now, let's assume there's only one more Open. Does like low,
What am I doing?
What are you doing?
I accidentally pinned a message. So.
But like if there was only one more Open, like to hit that 20, like low 20 mark for Tilted, he needs 7 points. What is that? Let me see here. 7 points is probably like top 16, top 8. Top 8? Yeah, so you'd have to top 8 to get that 23 number that we're talking about.
Like top 8 is 6 points, right? So in normal.
Okay. Yeah, so you'd get low 20s with a top 8 here. So that would have given you a second place at the big one, a top 8 at a small one, and that gives you that 21 number of low 20s. So
yeah, that seems like that 1A seems like probably gonna make you in because like let's be realistic, like it's very likely that you know me, Boki, they're both not gonna make it again, right? Like it's kind of like it's something like maybe even like impossible to like make it again, especially But
I mean, I think
because it can happen for people, but
I think people of that quality like can definitely like consistently top 64. But more than consistently top 64 is very difficult because like you get into the top 64, your opponents are all good, and it's single elimination. So like,
single elimination is the biggest bitch in card games, really, in top cuts. But I think we were talking about it on Kaido's like watch party, where he was like, I don't remember who said it, but someone in the call was like, "Well, I think if you consistently do well across the whole year, you should make it." Like, and they're like, "Yeah, if you just like top cut every tournament," and I was like, "That's not anywhere close to like being enough because if you top cut every tournament, we'll say there's like 9, and you get 2 points for 6 of them, that's 12 points, and you get another 9, so you get 21 points total if you just top cut. People are getting that in one season.
Yeah, like, the best example of that would be like Broken Ball, because I think Broken Ball's been like the classic example of a good player that just never has gone deep in an official.
Yeah, he's 16 like every time basically.
Yeah,
I think we did his math too.
I do not believe he's ever won more than 1 round in top cut. And it's just like
his top 16.
Yeah.
So if he top 16 every time, like let's say he does the same thing. So 6 times 4 is 24? Question mark. And then 3 times 7 is what, 21? So 21 and 24, that puts him at 45 points if he were to keep the same thing up. And like I don't think that's enough. I think people are gonna get like 20 points in one season and then possibly not qualify. Then that's like half of a top 16 every single time.
Yeah, but definitely we have to be thinking like then like somebody gonna have like this 20 season, but then he's gonna maybe bump out. He's not gonna play the game as well. Like that's something I have to be thinking about. But sure, yeah, I think definitely it's gonna be very hard. As well, like top 16 is not only 1 win now, but it's 2 wins actually, right? In the top cut, so that's something to also be thinking about. So I think they're gonna like honestly when I was playing the Open, I felt so stupid when I was like in top 16 and I was like checking my pricing. I was like, oh, I get nothing so far. Like, no money, and I'm like, I'm top 16. And like,
I don't have a whole lot of sympathy because I'd like to let you know that I was 1 game win away from top cutting Worlds in 2021, and I got nothing.
You played like an $8,000 money match or something.
Yeah, I played 2 back-to-back like $8,000 money matches against Icano, who's in chat, and I lost both, so I got nothing. And it was just like, okay.
I guess you're right. That like,
so here's
like, top 16 is such an accomplishment. Like, I
so true. So true.
Should be at least something, right? Like, I don't know. It still should be like even like if it's fucking $50, like I think like they should.
Yeah. So like what you just said is top 16 is a nice achievement. Imagine going top 16 every single Open. I'd say that's like an insane run. I'd say that's like one of the best players we have goes top 16 every Open. And then how do you feel that going top 16 every single Open could possibly not be enough? Not even possibly. I'd say it's like pretty close to not being enough to qualify you off of total.
Yeah, I mean, I can even like slightly lower the result, and I think the like conclusion is the same. Where I say like someone top cuts every single Open. They never go past top 16. Sometimes they get eliminated in top 64. Most of the time they make it a round of 16. They sometimes get eliminated in a round of 32. That person probably will not qualify for Worlds and will get $0.
Yeah, that is insane to me. That is insane.
Well, he can maybe make it if he's like also ladder grinder, right? Like every time 5 points.
I think it is possible for that person to make it, but like I just want to stress like that person is like dicey to make it, and they get no money either. Like this person could realistically end the year with nothing, no Worlds qualification, no money, and like. I don't know. That sounds pretty bad.
Yeah, I think the fact that is possible, like the fact that it is possible to miss at 9-1 and possible to miss at 9-2, like that is an issue. You know, like I think possible to miss when you top 16 every single tournament is like a big issue if that ends up happening. So I don't know.
Well,
that's insane.
Maybe we should move on to the.
So let's talk about how it went.
We can talk about personal stories. We can talk about metas. What do we want to do?
I think we can, cover all of it. Talk about. I don't think anything specifically went wrong, but that could be something we cover at the end.
Well, I guess that's probably a worthwhile starting point of like the general view of like the last Open being ridiculously scuffed, and this one pretty much going fine.
Some few scuffs things, like especially like
there's definitely
Simon going into ZZ multiple times. And
there's definitely some lingering problems. You can queue into the same person multiple times. Although I will point out with Simon that he was kind of stress testing the system. I don't think it should be allowed, but the man was also queuing at like 6 in the morning when like he was 5-0, and it's like okay, like there's not going to be a whole lot of options here.
Yeah. Like, there's not going to be a whole lot of people at that high of a record
Yeah.
at
That
that
early.
time of at that time of queuing. So
Yeah.
like,
It
it's
definitely
definitely his fault that it continued to happen. But I definitely just don't think it should have happened.
Yeah,
Like,
it's simultaneously like something that Riot should fix, and I'm also not too concerned about it because like Simon was basically sitting here and being like, if I like very hard try to make something wrong
to
happen,
break
does something wrong happen? And it's like, okay, yes, like
Yeah.
sorry.
If I actively try to do this thing at the most extreme point and it breaks, like, can that happen? And he tried it, sat in the queue for 12 plus minutes, and it broke it. And it's just like, the system breaks. And it's like, no fucking shit.
But honestly,
Riot should definitely fix it, but like, I'm not gonna
it
go
was
like.
kind of cool though. Like it was kind of cool to like I just woke up at 9 a.m. and like I just opened Twitter and like run and like see Simon's already in. I'm like, what?
Like, Cup said the same thing to me. I finished my thing really quickly because I had to go into work Saturday, and Cup messaged me and was just like, oh, you're not like queuing. I was like, no, I finished. And he's like, oh damn. He's like, you finished before I even like got on my computer to play the thing. And it's like cool because I just got to sit there and chill and like watch all my homies like play for the rest of the day. So
yeah,
I think that's definitely very cool.
There was
Imagine playing on a
that.
computer,
And then the only other scuffed thing that I think I saw was like Yost's friend who had the like super scuffed MMR situation last time around. He had like this glimmer of it. It looked like the early rounds might still have some MMR in there, but the way I phrase this is like 3 rounds in, it got overshadowed by win-based matchmaking, and I'm really not too worried about that. Like, would I like Riot to clean it up? Yes. Also not too concerned.
Also,
yeah.
My back is true.
Yeah, I thought you guys were going to talk about the timer thing, the round.
Timer.
I know that's
timer.
what you're going to talk about.
I forgot about timer, but timer is like the one actual big issue of like, first of all, the timer in client is just wrong. Like, again, it just isn't correct. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
So
I was thinking like,
so it displays server.
In 5 hours or in 1 hour, and like.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the problem is it displays server time, which for like America's is Pacific, and if you're not in the Pacific time zone, it just doesn't tell you the correct time.
Oh wow.
So people can just like see it and be like, oh, I have like more time, and it's just not correct. Like I know for me, it told me I had 3 more hours than I actually did. I found out through the community somehow that you just cannot trust the timer, and so I knew how much time I actually had. But like the timer was just wrong if you looked at it. And my understanding is there were 2 timers, and one of them was correct, and one of them was wrong. And there was a bunch of
was wrong.
Okay, and there was a bunch of confusion where people were like, "How much time do I have?"
Oh, that's not even what I was talking about either.
Oh.
I was talking about how at the end, like when the time happened, like let's say cutoff was 10 p.m. my time, it was like right at 10 p.m. the client just closed.
Yeah.
Like you just got kicked out. Which in Gauntlets, that's not how it works. In Gauntlet, if you are in the middle of your round when the time ends, you get to finish your round, and then whatever your score is or something, that counts for you. Like so, it'll still finish it off for you. But what happened here was as soon as the time ended, like it hit 10 p.m., it just kicked people out of their games and did not count it to finish. It didn't give them losses. It didn't do anything like that. It just said you finished your run at 8-0, not like 3 losses, not 8-3, but just 8-0. And so a lot of people got or not a lot. I don't know a lot, but we know of 2 people that got screwed at like 8. Like one person was 8-0 and got screwed out of it, and then Yos's friend, the one we were talking about earlier, was 8-1 going into game 3 and got screwed out of it. And the most screwed part about all of it is not like you can say like, oh well, they obviously should have finished before the timer goes off. That's fine. Oh, the game ended immediately and kicked them out of it. That can like be kind of seen as fine if it just gave them losses. The issue was it didn't actually finish their run, so it didn't strike them with losses. So what happened was you had someone go 8-0 and not make day 2, but you had people that went 6-3 make day 2. Because their run was technically finished. They were in the pool of players to be potentially in day 2. So they were frustrated that they went 8-0. And even if the system would have given them 3 losses to finish out their run, say like, oh, you didn't finish in time, your run is 8-3. That is still better than like 6-3 or 7-3. So they should have made it into day 2 off of time.
Yeah, my solution to this problem, which I think is probably relatively simple, is if you have 8 wins and you don't finish, you're treated as an 8-4 player. So the system basically encourages you, play out your matches. Let's see how it goes. Like, don't just end your run at 8 wins. Like, finish it out. But if I'm like the system and I'm looking for a 7-3 player to put into Top Cut, I'll take the 8-4 player first. Which I think is fine to basically say, like, okay, you didn't complete your run. We're going to give you the worst possible record you could have. And then also a little gravy on top of that. So a true 8-3 player makes it in, because I do think like an 8-0 player is like more deserving of Top Cut than an 8-3 player. But I also think the system should just be like, please finish your matches. Like, I think this is a reasonable ask to people. But if we need like a 7-win player or whatever, like, yeah, take the 8-4 player over the 7-3 player. So.
Yeah, so I guess we can talk about the records that did make it in. So BaJAtak, they pulled in people from their 6-3 bracket.
Yes.
6-3 tiebreakers made it in.
Yeah.
Waitlist. It was waitlist.
No,
Yeah.
they made it in.
So 6-3 was waitlisted, but they did make it in. So
yes.
Yeah. Okay. So 6-3 got waitlisted, made it in. All 7-3s made it in, obviously. And then 6-3s were waitlisted, but then made it in. Surely this is just because of their player size. They are just a very small region, very small player base. EU, on the other hand.
Hold on. Please release LOR in China, for the love of God.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, they can't actually do that. That's not really their fault, but
they have to get it approved. but it's just like,
yes, please release it in China.
Come on, like, how long is this going to go?
Game so much, like the market is so big, and like, let's be honest, like that would be like, you know,
like let's be honest, Ace
are so big, like, man.
Yeah, and Ace already like came and shit on every single region for like 3 months straight until he got bored. So like, there's players over there that have unmatched potential.
Yeah, like I think China, like I think the problems with like APAC that we keep having, which literally is just APAC is not a particularly large region. Like people will try and tell you that like APAC's a joke of a server. That's not really true. Their strong players are just as strong. There aren't as many of the strong players because there aren't as many players. But like a bunch of these problems that we keep having with APAC is just like the server's small. And I can like suggest some like interim fixes. I really think OCE should be on the APAC server just because like timing wise it doesn't make any sense for them to play.
It's also in a league like they also OCs and now in Apex.
So okay, it is. That's good.
Sense.
Oh, I thought they had their own server, but I'm a boomer.
No, they got merged now. That like they can set OC and they get into like APEC.
Oceania includes Australia, and I think like
get Nas out of here. He's taking up our world spots.
I think like that would solve some of the problems, but I really don't think that fixes the problems. Like Oceania is not a particularly large
much bigger
chunk of the Americas server, and like sure that would help move it, but like realistically the problem is the game hasn't released in China, and the like APAC server is built expecting China to be part of it, and it isn't. So
APAC small region, let people in at 6-3 off the waitlist. However, one thing I still don't fully understand that I don't think there's really been an answer to yet is we're going to go to EU, which is a much larger region and is much more comparable to NA. They let people in at 8-3 and not even waitlisted. They just dead ass put in someone at 8-3. And then more 8-3s off of waitlist came in, but they had people at 8-3 come in. I'm gonna assume because still like smaller region than NA, but I also think maybe just like matchmaking screwed each other or something. I'm not really sure, to be honest. Like,
I do think EU is a smaller region than America. I don't think it's anywhere near to the level of APAC.
Yeah, I think it's smaller. I just didn't think it was that much smaller, like that big of a difference.
I mean, I don't think it's that unreasonable. I don't know how many 9-2s missed in Americas, but I don't think it was tons of 9-2s missing. I know like plenty of people made it in at 9-2, yourself included. So
so at EU let it in 8-3, and then to finish it off at NA, we actually bubbled people at 9-2, which means that every 9-1 made it in every region. But the difference is in NA, not every 9-2 made it. Some 9-2s went X3. Again, like Micah said, we don't know how many. We just know some did. I would assume most 9-2s made it in simply because of all but one 9-2 that I know of made it in, including myself. Basically, I know of a singular 9-2 that did not make it in. So obviously, like, is there more than just one 9-2 that didn't make it? Probably. But I just know of the one, which means that it's highly likely that I'd assume most people at 9 and 2.
Yeah, I know one 9 and 2 that didn't make it, and I know they had a fairly weak game win rate, which we kind of think is a tiebreaker.
Is it Tank?
No, I did not know
Okay.
Tanks. But...
Yeah, Tank went 9 and 2 and missed.
Okay.
Yeah, but when we talk about this tiebreaker, we can then like hop into like we don't know how tiebreakers work. Like,
yeah, we have no clue. Like,
I mean, we kind of touched on this last season or like last Open where we said like Icaro should not have made it in over my friend if we were going off of like the written rules tiebreakers, but it got to the point now to where EU people were like, okay, they're like, this makes no sense. Why is this 8 and 3 making it over me? They're like, they like pulled out the numbers, like added Ruben Zoom, and then Ruben just looked at it and was like, we'll ship it over to quality assurance and see like what happens.
Yeah, like legitimately, there's an article saying what the tiebreakers are, and all we really know is what they said in the article is definitely not true.
Yeah,
we have no clue what the truth is, but it's definitely not that one.
Yeah.
So
that's also like okay, like there's small fuck ups, but I said like it's definitely
it was great.
One. Like it was great. It was a great experience.
9 and 2 making it is insane.
This
9 and 2 making it, and like Drisoth said it yesterday. I'm gonna repeat him because I think I definitely agree with it. Like the EU situation is the most healthy one. Like if everyone with 9 wins just make it, that's just amazing.
I think the system makes way more sense, way more intuitive, and way more pleasant if it is just if you make 9 wins, you're making it in. If you make 8 wins, no promises. And like, yeah, a hard cut to 64 is really hard to make that happen because you'll have different server sizes. It's not really clear, but I think the system is much more pleasant to interact with when it's just got this like simple, clean break of just like, you make 9 wins, you should expect to make it. You don't make 9 wins, you should expect to not make it. And I think the system mostly worked. I think this is really what people wanted to see from the first Open out of beta. This definitely feels like the first Open post-beta, and the previous one felt like a beta Open.
It feels like the first real Open. Like it feels like an actual real Open.
Yeah.
I'll touch on. I know we'll probably get to chat at the very end, but someone said, "Do you guys know the EU winner?" By the way, this could be a good topic to talk about. So, have you guys heard of the EU winner? By the way, I've never heard of them, and they aren't Masters. The EU winner is a Masters player. I think he's actually like a top 25 Masters player or something. And he's a really frequent Twitch chatter, but he played on a Smurf account. He didn't like double Q. He didn't cheat. Yeah, he didn't double Q. He didn't break any TOS. And Riot said, you just pick an account to play on. And he picked his Smurf account. So his name is 14 FPS or something like that. 15 FPS, 14 FPS, something like that. He's been around for years. But he just chose to make his Smurf account his dedicated competitive account, and that's why a lot of people were like, why, like, oh, a non-Masters player won? Was it like a Smurf? Was it a big deal? I mean, I don't know. I think it's
Havalichi says it's not a Smurf, but I mean, so I didn't remember seeing...
He's just renamed, I think. Yeah.
I did not remember seeing this, like, word from Riot basically saying that, like, it's okay to Smurf. But if they said that, like, I don't see any problem with it. Like,
okay, I don't think they specifically said like it's okay to Smurf. I think they just said something like pick an account, like just don't play multiple accounts. Like don't double queue.
That essentially says that. If we knew of people like double queuing again, I think we have a serious problem. And I've seen.
We do.
We do?
We do know. Yeah, in APEC there was a guy that double queued 2 accounts with the exact same name, made it in. And the really funny thing, on APAC too. And the funny thing about APAC is if they both would have won, they would have played against each other in 32. Because they were on the exact same bracket for 64. And if they would have played, or if they would have won, they would have hit top 60 in top 32. And then in EU, same fucking thing where like a Boxy or something, a Boxor, II Boxor and II Boxor made top 30 or top 64, top cut. And the difference is like, little I, big I Boxor, and then big I Boxor.
Okay. So but
we don't know. Maybe it's their brother. So.
What I'm hearing is the Americas server is the best server. Like,
I mean, there was a joke about Simon queued into the same person 4 times because we banned all their cheaters. There's only 4 people in the queue. But yeah, I think probably what happened realistically was we saw how much shit happened from people finding out in EU, and they was like, let's not do that. They were like, because they were like, it's not worth it. But, it's really. I think it's crazy that happened even after that like whole article came out, and like the punishments came out for the EU
So-
player and stuff.
You remember when I advocated for permabanning because it sends
Yeah,
a
same.
message?
I mean, same. Yeah, I said the same thing. I don't know, but I
Perhaps
guess not
we
letting
need to
the
perma some
cheaters.
people.
Also,
Yeah.
I don't get why the punishment went like public. Is there like any reasoning for that? Like because
Why
we
it
know
didn't
the
go public,
punishments.
or why it did go public?
Why it didn't? Because like it wasn't like announcement or
So
something. There was just like
yeah,
leaks, you know,
I
like from
don't
the
know.
press.
I just know from the past when Riot banned some perma-banned someone in the past, they basically said something along the lines of like, it doesn't look good. It causes a lot of like discourse basically, and also like LOR was fairly new and wasn't like super big, so I think it's just because they wanted to avoid discourse
So,
and trauma and stuff.
My
Back then. I don't know
understanding,
what it is now or anything.
my understanding of like the other times people have been perma'd, which I know Riot previously didn't want people to mention, so I guess I'll like avoid talking about the.
I mean, it's been like 2 years now, and everyone and their moms mentioned it. So
I'm still gonna avoid it, but
sure.
I know the previous times that Riot has done it, it's because of like actions outside the game of like we believe this person to be unsavory, so we're going to permaban them and say like we don't want you in our community. And that makes a whole lot more sense to me to like try and remain private with, because you're basically like, if you publicly broadcast that you ban this guy, you're also kind of publicly broadcasting that this person was in your community, and
And got attention.
and also people are gonna like start like witch hunting for like other people they perceive as unsavory. I can really understand that perspective for that. In terms of like cheating, you can pretty much just be like, this person cheated, we permit them. And I feel like the vast majority of gamers would basically be like, great job, big fan.
Yeah, cool, good job.
So like, it feels categorically different to perma like people for actions outside the game and perma people for actions inside the game. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
Uh-huh.
So I guess we went over how things had to win. I guess we can just go personal experience. We'll start. We do EU first, and
You first.
or I can do first because mine was really short. And then you guys did much better and have probably more to say. I went 9-2. Wasn't super happy with my day one player lineup. I mean it was fine. I think Demacia Tristana is just better, so I probably should have just played Demacia Tristana. I'm more comfortable on it, and I think it's a better deck. But all in all, went 9-2. Wasn't happy. I assumed I missed until I heard EU was letting people in at 8-3. Found out later on that I made day 2. Brought a lineup to day 2, which was just like a first or 64th style lineup. I said that. I said I'm either going to win the whole thing or I'm going to get out first round. Unfortunately, I got out first round. Shit happens. And I did feel a little bit better to know that someone with almost my exact same lineup did make it all the way to second place, though. So it very much just proved my point of my lineup being first or 64th. Is one of us went 64th, the other person made it to the finals. So
I guess also you can say what you were playing. So like.
Yeah, so in the open rounds I just played the standard like good player, good deck lineup, which was Tristana Bilgewater, Samira Fizz, and then I brought Nasus Vaults, which was actually like my second best deck. It did better than it did worse than Samira Fizz, but way better than Tristana. And then my top cut lineup was Annie Jin, Shin Jarvan, and then I brought Scouts with Champion Strength, which I ended up getting banned. I didn't get to play it, but the person that had a comparable lineup to me that did much better brought Samira Jinx instead of Scouts. So the idea of the lineup was to beat all the Karma players, beat all the Aatrox players, basically third deck farming, and then you're like, your worst matchup is 50-50 into Samira Fizz. So like 2/3 are you're beating Samira Fizz, then you're like 150-50 into it. So very risky lineup. Not bringing in either Samira nor Tristana. Didn't work out for me. Worked out for someone else. All in all, my experience though was great. It was 10 out of 10 tournament for me. I loved it. I hoped every tournament goes this smoothly, and obviously I hope I top cut also. But I thought it was great.
Yeah, before I started before my run, like what it was thingy, I had like shadow vacation, so I was unfortunately first to play on mobile. It was a little bit scuffed, but I was kind of used to it in the past. I was sometimes playing on mobile, but it's not the best experience, and especially with the close deck list, it's actually not hurting you that much because you're just like kind of fine with that. And like I had amazing experience in the open rounds. I met so many good players. I met like Surrey, I met BB. I've met Ghost Driver, like very good names, as well. There are more people that I knew. Like I think I met only one non-monster player, for example. So like it was very good experience for me. I did kind of well. Then I just like lost to BB. I lost to Lurk that get double pike and deny to my judgment. So because
Sure.
I got double Garen, so I had judgment and I was kind of sad that it didn't work out because I wanted to make the the photo of it like I told you
Close
play
deckless.
judgment close deckless. But otherwise yeah I was 9-2. I didn't expect to make it, so I kind of got drunk.
Mhm.
Then and then I just I'm just looking at my mobile and like it's like announcement you made day 2 and I was like what
Mhm.
is going on?
Yo,
So
I completely forgot about this, but like one of the best things that I found out from this tournament that didn't occur for seasonals, at least when I had Top Cut seasonals, I got a push notification on my phone because
Same.
I've got like
yeah
I'm logged into my Riot account on my phone or whatever. I have Legend of Runeterra installed. I mostly play on desktop, but like I was going to bed and like yeah, I expected to make it, but it was super cool to like around midnight my time, my phone just like shows up and says you're in. And I was like,
yeah
great quality
Yeah.
of life. Like this is
Yeah, I
Yeah,
fantastic.
that's
like
how
I'm
I
not-
knew also. Because
I wouldn't know maybe like I
Yeah.
would maybe just go to sleep and like not wake up next day because that thingy.
Mhm.
But and day 2 I was playing in even more scuff conditions. I was playing in a car in the back seat, so um so yeah that was very scuffed. I didn't play well, but I made it to top 8. I think, especially like I was so used to my decks, so like I could have done play them on high level. But my lineups on the day 1 was Fizz Samira, it was Garen Geyser, and Tristana Birch that I changed in top cut to Demacia. Mostly the lineup is about beating, in my opinion, Aatrox. I think Aatrox, especially I know on stats Triss Birch is losing to Aatrox, but I was really knowledgeable in that matchup.
which one
because I played
loses? Which one loses to Aatrox?
Build.
it doesn't. On stats it does, but Birch losing to Itox. But in my experience, it didn't because if you, for example, keep Price Fight, I think that's a pretty good card in the
Yeah.
matchup. And like I just knew the matchup as well. Like I wanted to target Tristana because I think Kaiser is just for shitting on Tristana. So that's also was like I think maybe the not that usual deck. And for top cut, I changed to the Master because I just knew that I'm gonna meet some good players as well. So like I didn't. I was like in the opponents. I was like, I'm gonna outscale my opponent.
Yeah,
but in
agency's more fake against good players.
but in top cut, I was like, yeah, let's play the master. Let's just go for the champions rank. And yeah, overall, I'm happy with the run. I'm very happy that I was able to put up these numbers, even though I didn't expect it, honestly. So I'm happy, and it was a good experience.
So I went 9-1 on day 1. I played Tristana Bilge, Karma Set, and Samira Fizz. And my plan for open rounds was basically I wanted to play games against most people, and I just had this belief that if I play a game of Legends of Runeterra against the vast majority of people, I will win most of the time. So I was like, I'm interested in playing games with my opponent. In Top Cut, I was a lot less interested in agency because the people are a lot better. And I had 2 lineups that I was basically considering. The first one was just running it back. I thought that lineup was decent, but I did think it was low power and high agency. And I DM'd a couple of people. One of them was Mo, the other one was Boulevard. And I basically said, do you think I'm one of the 4 best players in this event, the Top Cut? And I told him like why I was asking. And Boulevard said yes. And I was like, okay, agency it is. And I brought the agency lineup, and I just was saying like, I'll just skill diff people in Top Cut. And I won, so hey.
Yeah, and he skilled people in top cut. At top cut. So
I will tell people I think the best lineup and the lineup that I would have brought if I didn't believe that was Demacia Tristana, Nasus, and then Samira Fizz.
that was gonna be I think that's what our teammate Henneke brought. No, he was on Aatrox still.
Yeah, that is
Instead
what
of
Donut
Nasus.
brought. I actually
Yeah,
beat
so
Donut in like round of 32, and
Yeah.
my lineup was the exact reason that I didn't want to bring that lineup.
Yep.
Because you just like hit someone playing Fizz and Karma and you're just dead. Because
Yeah.
Nasus is so atrocious into those decks.
Yeah,
Um,
and that's exactly why I didn't bring it, because I've been the biggest Nasus advocate on our team, and I didn't bring it because I knew of at least 4 different people that brought Samira and Karma in their lineups, and I was like, I'm not interested. Like I'm just not interested in this.
yeah,
I think especially that like it was interesting to see like that we can like as a look at as well as like the popularity of decks and top cut and different nature because for example like I was much more on Karma for example and like
Americans had a lot more Karma. I mean, we also have like a lot more like Karma people But
Yeah, we have a lot more Karma players, and unfortunately, some of the Karma players are the biggest influencers in the scene. And so, like,
yeah,
you know, as much as we don't want to believe it, like, influencers do have a big hold on the meta. Like, when Swim was really popular, he would tweet out a deck list, and you know that, like, for the next couple hours you were on ladder, like, you'd play against it.
yeah.
And
So
with Ikato and Majin and Blue God all being big streamers that love
Karma.
Karma,
Yeah,
you
one
know,
of the things that
popular.
had happen was I was talking with another person who top gutted today, Vengevine, who's an America's player, and he basically played a lineup targeting Karma. It was like Kaisa Garen, Shen J4, and Demacia Tristana, where he was just like, I am hunting for Karma. Like, obviously I have like some other stuff going on. My decks aren't just like atrocious, but like I'm hunting Karma. And I was like, why did you do that? Like, Karma isn't that popular. And he was like, oh, I thought like half of Top Cut was going to bring Karma. And like, if you go find Karma in like the lineup, like 14 people brought it. And I feel like that was entirely predictable. It's just like all of the high profile people were on Karma. So like, if you're just like loosely tied into what's going on in the scene, it feels like everyone's on Karma. Ikato's on Karma. I'm on Karma. Majin's on Karma. Bones is playing Karma. Like, everyone's on Karma. And it's just
because it's also ringers. It's not just like random people. It's like these people I know who are also like really good players are on Karma, so it makes it feel even worse. Because it's like, not only does it feel like a lot of people, but the people that are on it are really good, so you know, like, it's not just a Karma player, it's like the Karma players. Like, when you think of the America's Karma players, you like think of these people, so it makes it even feel even worse.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you just like kind of looked at it, it feels like Karma's going to be everywhere, but like that wasn't it. And I think you should have been able to figure that out.
People just like to play their decks, and like they perform with them, for example, ladder, right? Like, also funny thing that I noticed is that APEC like to watch Master and Gunter open stats because there was a lot of guys.
Yes.
And like
Really?
Samira Panther.
Yeah. Well, also Kaisa is just like an EU deck too, wasn't it? Like kind of created by EU players, like BB and Simon.
It was Hash and BB, what I know.
Didn't you guys
like NA is not on.
I guess
So,
first.
hold on.
Ichiran was first.
Yeah,
Ichiran was first,
you
but
people
then
did
it was Hash
actually
with
get
BB.
this from Ichiran, which we should talk about. That man is just absolutely monstrous.
He's the second undefeated person in the tournament in NA. Two undefeated people.
Ichiran's like absolutely goated for what he brought. He brought Nasus, Teemo, Ekko.
Yeah.
Wait, guys, do you know that he played only one top cut game and then he left? So
yeah,
he's like,
he couldn't risk winning it and having to give his identity to Riot because this man has to remain a mystery.
Yeah.
Wait, he left?
Yeah, he
won one series and he left.
Wait, so he won in top 32. Or sorry, he got to top 32 and then left in top 32.
Yes, correct. He did not play a game. Yeah.
That's insane. Holy shit. That is insane.
Ichiran is like absolutely like he's like a cryptid. He's this like mythical animal that science doesn't
He'd rather
believe in.
continue to keep his identity secret than potentially win a major and qualify for Worlds.
What if Ichiran is Robinzo?
Have we ever seen them in the same room?
Someone asked the other day if like maybe Ichiran was another like cephalopod thing, and someone looked and they were like, "Oh, Ichiran and Seth has never queued into each other except for one game." There was like one game back in like April something, like early April, where Ichiran and Seth queued into it.
We gotta find this man. Like, they're the greatest story in Legends of Runeterra. Someone's gonna make. You know what's gonna happen? Legends of Runeterra is gonna like die, and then 5 years after its death, some YouTuber is gonna farm Ichiran Ramen for like content, where it's like Ludwig is gonna make a video about how like this mythical player that nobody could ever find out who it was.
Yeah, it's hilarious. This he's a demon. That guy's a demon. But we have the stats here. So what ended up winning? So what was your lineup in day 2? Then you ended up on Karma. You ran it back. Right?
Literally the same thing. Yeah, just Karma, Set, Tristana, Bilgewater, and Samira Fizz. It was really funny because you kept hitting people that are like, I can counter Samira Fizz, and no, the fuck you can't.
Yeah, I think that we can talk about that for a minute. Just talk about like the metas now. That we've gone through our personal experience. Congrats, Micah, for winning NA. But people have this idea of, oh, I'll target Samira Fizz. It might like too. I didn't really listen to my gut at all, but it was like just like partial like soft counter. But we saw people, I think it's been like the last 2 seasons where people are like, yeah, I'll just counter Samira Fizz. Like, it's easy. I'll just counter this deck. And like the good Samira Fizz players, like yourself, keep telling them like, no, you can't. like you cannot do this thing. Stop doing it. And we see over and over and over again, Samira Fizz win, and then people do this thing where they go, I got high rolled. Like in the finals, opponents like, I got high rolled. He killed me on turn 5. And it's like, you don't understand that like 40% of the time, my hands are just unlosable. Like Samira Fizz just like does not lose 40% of the time. Like that just happens. And it's just like, I like RPG did this thing where they brought some like janky ass lineup of like Alawi, Swain, Jinx, Samira. I don't even know what their third deck was. And they're like, yeah, we'll just like beat all the Samira players. And they went like top 64, top 32. One of them, Chekhov made top 4 and then lost to Micah on Samira Fizz.
I mean, I don't think their lineup was like that bad. I don't think it was unreasonable, but like as soon as you're basically sitting here and saying like my plan is to target Samira Fizz, I just think you're on copium, where it's just like this. People like just do not realize this about properly good decks, not playable decks, properly good decks, the broken stuff. That you just play games against this and they just ass pull wins. For no reason. You're just like sitting there and you're like, okay, I've got like my blocking Badger Bear with my Shen deck, and they're just like, well, you're dead. And you're like, why? And they're like, oh, a Pirouette, 2 Father Fury, Samira, you're dead.
Yeah.
And you're like, I have my cards. And they're like, yeah, well, I drew pretty well, so you're dead.
Yeah, that's what people keep saying. I hear like Bones, like it was in my chat earlier, and he's like, well, I'm just gonna play a blocking Badger Bear. And I'm like, okay, but we're like pretending Pirouette's not a card. Like I Pirouette you and then like still swing 4 by you. Or like worst case scenario, I trade like a spell into you and then now like my spell is killing your unit or something. And it's just like, I don't like this one singular unit is not going to completely flip this matchup and win the game for you.
Yeah.
Like
like Samira Fizz, you don't beat Samira Fizz. Samira Fizz usually beats itself. I feel like that was like something that I had issue. I was even messaging you like, maybe Samira Fizz isn't that good, but it was because I guess I didn't like get monkeys into your games. Like
if you don't draw Pandemonium, like the deck looks pretty reasonable. Or if like you're playing Shen Jarvan and you draw denies for their Pandemoniums, like I had a game against Bones. I almost lost against Bones with Samira Fizz against Shen Jarvan. I swindled a deny. He had 2 denies, and I only had 1 monkeys. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I could lose. I still finished getting the burnout because he was at 3 or something. But it's like, what on earth are we talking about that like this deck counters Samira Fizz when it was like double draw your denies, draw both of them. I have monkeys. You're still dead to second monkey. Like you still can't beat that card.
Yeah, I think people. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people take their stats from like either just hard stats, which even hard stats shows that the matchup's losing for Shen Jarvan, and then they take their personal experiences on ladder. When you take someone like Bones, who is an insane player, he's like an insane player, and he just like skill diffs 80% of the people on ladder, if not more than that, and it goes like, see guys, I'm like 75% into this matchup, and it's like, dude, you're 75% into like everyone on any matchup.
I think Bones' comments are like pretty fair. Where like if stuff goes well, it goes fine. The problem is like, it's just so easy for Samira Fizz to just be like, I drew upper 40%, you're dead. And it's like, the like finals game is like a perfect example of that, where it was just like, oh, I triple drew Father Fury and I have a Samira. So you die.
Even through his like badger, people are like, oh, well, he had a Badger Bear. He didn't play his Badger Bear to block your elusive. It's like, it didn't matter. And he was dead. He was dead through Badger Bear, man.
Like the Badger Bear. Like,
like that didn't save him.
But like we get next turn. Like, sure.
Yeah, it's just like there's a lot of things where people are like, well, I have this card and like maybe a third card in the matchup, and you're like, okay, so you have like a total of 6 cards, maybe 9 at best, and you're expecting to draw multiple of those because one's usually not enough. Like a Badger Bear is not going to be enough, right? So it has to be like a Badger Bear plus something else. Meanwhile, I can just draw like any like 40% of my hands and beat you, like just straight up. And then, like, on top of that, I could also, like, anytime you draw a percentage better, count me as drawing a percentage better, and I'm still just better. And it's just, like, not...
The funnier one, I think, was, like, I do think, like, Samira Fizz last season was just, like, way more ridiculous than Samira Fizz this season. Yeah. And it was so funny to see discourse, because you'd see people be like, they double drew all out. They had, like, Samira and 2 all-outs. What was I supposed to do? And I'm like, they play 5! They have 5 all-outs! Like... That's not even a high roll. That's just what happens.
Yeah. stuff
Yeah.
like that. And yeah, I don't know. I
What
feel
the-
like people, if I feel like if the answer you're constantly giving yourself is I got high rolled, I got high rolled, I got high rolled, then like one, that's probably just what the deck does.
Yeah.
And then like two, your deck is probably just not good enough to handle its high rolls. It's like you didn't high roll and they like had an
Guys.
average or above average and you just like lose.
Okay.
Like the
Ace.
game
You got me.
feels kind of close sometimes, like with the summer phase, and like, but you still lose. And I guess that's the thing. Like, sure, you just dead to their last ping, but they always have the last ping.
Yeah,
so-
they always have it. They play. I mean, they play like 3 warning shots, 3 stylish shots, like 3 Samiras. Like a quarter of their deck is just simply deal 1 damage. You know.
That's a base trade name. I need to also add it. I was like moving table, but I'm so lazy to like move it. So
Standing desk, like I bought this during like the depths of COVID. This is like one of the best purchases I've ever made in my life. So I could not recommend them enough. But
yeah, but also interesting thing that was, for example, I think, and when we look at the stats, I think like you was so much big on Ekko Jinx. I think also it's like historical, I would say also. But
I do not like that deck very much.
Yeah,
so.
I think
yeah.
I think there's like 2 piles of people. I think EU is much higher on Ekko Jinx. I don't know if it's just because of how your meta is or what, or maybe your players are just strictly better on Ekko Jinx. But NA has like just so many people that just absolutely hate Ekko Jinx, and there's like a few people that are like, oh no, Ekko Jinx is broken. I don't know what it is about specifically Ekko Jinx,
So
but like it just feels so polarized that people either think the deck is insanely good and really strong, or people think the deck is just like simply not it.
yeah, I will actually say once it became Echo Jinx and not Echo Zillion, I felt like the deck was fine.
Yeah.
I've never felt like the deck was like super overtly strong, but I did feel like the deck was like very justifiable, and I even played it in one seasonals. I don't remember what the meta was for that seasonals, but I remember playing like Echo Jinx, and it was like perfectly fine deck. I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
But there was definitely this like discourse around Echo Zillion where people were like, "This deck is cracked," and I'm just like, I cannot see it. Like,
Yeah.
it would always be like specific people who put up really good numbers. Where it's like, I remember Skathis and Broken Ball specifically.
And me, what? I had like the second.
You
highest
also
rate.
push back, but it was like specific people would push back and be like, Echo Zillion is cracked. You just don't believe. And I'm like, BB, you literally have a higher win rate on the established good deck than you do on Echo. Like, just play that one. Like,
Yeah.
literally
And
your
people-
own stats say that deck is better.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's because like Card Gamer says like Chrono Break isn't a broken card. I think like 3 mana Rally is really good. 3 mana Revive everything that died this turn and then Rally is like absurdly broken. The issue is like if you don't find exactly Echo, and then if you don't find exactly Chrono Break on the right turns, then like what is your deck doing? Like your deck is not actually doing much. And I've seen too many games of like your mulligan can just like end your game. And then like your predicts just end your game.
So that's why I think like the Echo Jinx deck is a lot more reasonable, because like it used to be that you had to find Echo. Now you can find Jinx. Like Jinx is a perfectly serviceable card. You generally want to like
RNG. Like I don't like the deck is just feeling so weird. I don't like the Double RNG. Like sometimes you just first spray you get 2 of them. Like you just win the game even because of that. Like you don't need Echo then usually, but. It's like it's just like so interesting, and like I was actually I was like you know I wanted to play it, but then like I was playing it and like had some bad hands, you know, predicted 7 times and didn't find Chrono Break, and I was like I guess no, you know, I don't know, like
yeah, it's
like,
a deck where it's like I feel like if you have a small like a not great huge sample size, and it's like if you do well over this big sample size, then you do really well, because I don't think there's a such thing as like an average Echo hand really. It's just like either your hands are really fucking good and they look great, or your hands are like super fucking bad. And even though like Jinx curves just don't feel good. Like if you don't play for Echo and you're playing for Jinx because of that's how you like predicted and stuff, that's not good. Like I've never seen someone just win from Jinx. Like ever. I've never seen someone do that. But I've seen people do like your Echo game plan and then like you can finish it off with Jinx. But all the people saying like, oh, just play like the Jinx game plan. The Jinx game plan is there. Like that's not a thing. Like you can't just sit there and go like burn you out for 7 turns in a row, because that's highly not likely going to happen.
I probably did that Broken Ball. That's probably fair. But,
that was the old Jinx, I assume, no?
Yeah.
I assume so. I haven't played it in a while, but
It
yeah,
just feels like, to me, it feels like lurk. It feels like if you get the right token and then like you get the right like predict on early on, then like your deck is like insane tier 0. If you don't have the right token, you don't hit the right predicts, you don't hit drop borders, then like
I don't
Your
think
deck's
it's
not.
nearly that bad, and I definitely think like once we put Jinx in the deck became like much more
Yeah.
reasonable. But
Yeah, it's definitely not as bad as like, but it's the same like.
the Zillion stuff, like it definitely felt like it was just like, please have Ekko on 4, please find Chrono Break, or just like magically find 2 time bombs, and like that was the plan. I was like, okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, Ekko. I remember because I remember Alan was like, after EU was done, Alan had like an after party stream, and then he was just like, people were like, oh, what's the best lineup if you could have played, or like for people in NA, what's the best lineup? And he just said like, make your third line or make your lineup like Tristana, make it Samira, and then make it Ekko Jinx. And they're like, Ekko Jinx just beats everything, and then they're like, Ekko Jinx beats like Samira and Tristana, and then you just like.
Well,
skill death
it
the other
was
two or whatever.
it was lineup that I think no Tilted was on that lineup. I actually forget because I saw the and I think that I forgot the lineup of. But Tilted was on this lineup. I think yeah, he was in this lineup. He beat me. And I don't exactly remember what it was on, but it was Mirror of Echoes though in the finals in EU, for example.
Yeah,
So.
I definitely don't think Ekko is that bad with Jinx.
Yeah.
I think it like had this like really funny storyline for a while, but I think it's like relatively properly evaluated at this point. So,
yeah.
I mean, I definitely think I'd put it in like this just pile of decks that don't contain Samira and don't contain Tristana, where I just think like
and aren't egregiously horrible.
Any of the decks that play like Tristana or Samira are just like absolutely bonkers. And it's like, okay, there's a bunch of other decks you can pick for your third deck, and they've all got problems. Like Nasus has problems, Karma has problems, Aatrox has problems. Like literally all of those like classic third decks have problems, and it's like, okay, I think that's fair, but like, I mean, you see that bear out with like archetype breakdowns, right? Where it's like we've got 30 Tristana decks plus some like random stragglers with other region combinations, 28 Samira Fizz, 50 total Samiras, and it's like, people figured out
64 brought Samira.
UMA like actually figured out that Tristana is like super broken, whereas America's coped a bit.
Yeah, I think the people in Americas, I think what happened was more people were trying to counter Tristana, and people were getting scared off of it. I think is what was happening. I think people were getting scared off of the Tristana, and because of like all of this there were a shit ton of copium like counter Tristana lineups in the open day one and stuff like that, and people were trying so hard to counter it with like you said, like Aatrox on stat says it beats Samira, and so I'm sure these like good players played Aatrox in their scrims or on ladder and like diffed some random Tristana player and started like bringing these anti Tristana decks and stuff. And
I definitely think
I was considering honestly, I was considering like cutting Tristana because I think like it was like the deck is definitely very good, but like I was like considering maybe that I was scared that people are gonna go like for the anti-full, but
frankly,
I just decided to stay on it.
Frankly, I see people try and do that, and I just don't believe it. Where like people sit there and be like, I'm gonna counter like whatever good deck, and it just like never works.
Yeah, I think it doesn't work because you're like a good enough player that it doesn't work. Like I think if most people try and counter Samira Fizz, it probably works against like 90% of the community. But like, you know who it doesn't work against? The people that are gonna make top 4 in this tournament. And that's what I tell people. I'm like, yeah, bring Karma. I know you won with Karma, whatever. I'm like, yeah, bring your Karma decks, bring your whatever decks, beat people up until top 8 or top 4 even. But then you're gonna lose to the good players that like know how to play into Karma or play into the people that like know how to play into whatever like cute deck you're bringing, and you're gonna get stuck at like top 8 and top 4. Is top 8 and top 4 bad? No, of course not. But like, is it winning the tournament? Is it doing like egregious things? Like,
I mean, so the Karma situation, I'm not gonna sit here and say that like I was super happy to be on Karma. Like Karma was definitely like the deck that I was most concerned about, simply because like it just doesn't have this raw power. But I feel like meta after meta, tournament after tournament, I see people just like bring 5-head lineups and they're just 3-head. It's just like, I mean, Skarzig like made fun of the fact that I do this, where I just like shout from the mountaintops and just like play the good decks, please. Like the good decks are so good, and like I don't know, I feel like I just have a different experience than everybody else. Where everybody else is sitting here being like, can I play like X deck and try and counter Y deck? And I'm just like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna play Tristana, and it's just gonna like pull wings out of its ass for no reason. And
I think it's because you're just like actually not on the same caliber as most top players. Because I think there's like top players, and then they think they have to do this super crazy thing to get an advantage when like your advantage should just be being a top player. Like your advantage should just be that like I'm just going to beat them with these like broken decks, and people would rather like
So
play like a funny deck to try and get their advantage that way.
I had an interaction with Infinity patrons, which I'm also gonna like accidentally flame Robomaster at the same time for this. I had this interaction with Infinity patrons, and I caught his Discord like right before the open rounds, where Infinity was like, "I'm gonna play Ionia Trist," and I was just like, "Why?" And he was like, "Well, if I play the same decks as everybody else, like, where is my edge?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"You're like a top 10% player easily. Like, just play the good decks." And he was like, "I'm gonna play Ionia Trist," and he plays Ionia Trist and flames out. And it's like, just play the good one. Like, it was right there.
Yeah, people try and gain their edges in places that aren't like just playing better. And I think I think if you do that, it's gonna be much harder for you to actually get better as a player in the long run. One thing, but two, like you should just trust in yourself that you're just going to beat players. Because I like did it day 2 for almost like a full year, and then I started playing with like Micah and started prepping with him somewhere towards last year, and him, and Malaysia, and I was just like, yeah, I'll just play the good decks. I like yoinked one of EU's like Hash's decks and started playing good decks. Immediately went like back to back top cut into top 8, qualified for. And I was just like I just need to play the good decks and just like they'll carry me sometimes. I'll skill diff people, and like there's like 20 people in NA that I can't skill diff, and if I lose to those people, I lose to those people. The other 3,900 people in Masters that I skill diff, like I'm just like do like that's where my advantage is, and people would rather play like shitter funny decks to try and get their advantage instead of getting their advantage from being good.
Also, just believe in yourself. Like, don't be like, "Oh my god, Drisoth. Oh my god, Teddy." Don't be like that. If you're gonna be like that, and you're gonna be like, "He's a better player than me," you're not gonna usually win. It's gonna make you worse because you're gonna be like scared. You're gonna be like, maybe thinking more about his plays and stuff, and like it's gonna make you playing worse as well. Like, believe in yourself. Believe that you can beat anybody. Like that's very, I think, that's an important thing to do. Like, don't go as a loser to the match, because if you're gonna go as a loser, you're gonna lose.
Yeah, I immediately remember like it was the SI Nami season where I remember someone basically saying like I think it was in the Master Runeterra Discord. I remember seeing this and just like yelling at this person to just play Nami because they said like directly, "I'm not going to play Nami because I won't be as good as it is Drisoth." And I'm like, bro, I was not like born onto this earth knowing how to play Nami. Just go play Nami. Like,
yeah. I mean, I put a video out on Nami, and I had so many people in my comment section on YouTube be like, "Do I have enough time to learn this? What's a good?" The number of questions like, "What's a good deck if I can't learn Nami in time? Or like if I can't do this?" I'm like, just like learn Nami.
yeah, I mean,
I was like, just go learn the deck. Like, just go do this.
I think there is like a real decision when you're dealing with like a complicated deck, and it's like 2 days before the event, and you decide you need to play it, and it's like
this was not 2 days
before. Yeah, you don't have time, but like you'll see people like basically give up on the tier 0 deck because it's complicated like 2 weeks out, and it's like
because they think it's harder because it looks harder.
Yeah. Also, like I remember from Nami season because like people would like ask me to like watch Nami games, and you just like see people win with Nami that like clearly don't know what they're doing, and I'm like, Nami was ridiculous. Play that.
There's the same like with Samira now with it's same with Tristana as well. Like, for example, like because I played so many games on Tristana, but I see so many misplays on the deck, and like, but people still keep winning, right? Even though if they play poorly, because
good
the deck is just good.
Good decks will carry you to win. Like, look, I'm not here to carry some pile. I'm here to get carried. I'm willing to put in some effort and meet the deck halfway, but I'm not looking to carry a deck.
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of talk around because of your win. I think people realize that what your win was like literally the movie of like someone getting better and finally getting like what they deserve type idea. And so like you won, and people finally like had this epiphany, like Twitter fucking blew up of like, oh, you can just like get better and win. Because like Micah put out a tweet longer like a year ago about how like I've been stuck mid for 10 years in card games. Like what I don't know what to do. And then he goes like actually gets better for a year, wins the tournament. And then everyone's like, holy shit, you can actually do that. Like people aren't just born to win. You could actually get better and practice and stuff. And they start having these epiphanies of like how to do that. And it starts with just like playing good decks and like just get better forehead. Like just rely on your skill, play good decks is like number one.
I don't know why my camera keeps blurring, but I mean, just play good decks.
Moving too much.
Honestly.
So
yeah, classic.
All right. Well, I don't think we have any other topics to cover.
I guess like we can talk about Eternal.
Oh yeah, Eternal.
Oh yeah, Eternal. Anybody have exciting Eternal decks?
I mean,
I
I think. Oh, go ahead.
well,
Set Trundle.
my like constant issue with like thinking about Eternal is
There's a patch.
Riot basically told us they were gonna try and make like a significant balance patch that was gonna do stuff, and like without that we have no clue. So
But also like balance patch based on what? Like
yeah,
you have no data.
And
What
we're
is
getting a
gonna be like-
mini, and we're getting a mini expansion
Mhm.
type thing, variety expansion, whatever they want to call it. I don't know how many cards it's gonna have, but
I'm really
It'll be
excited.
interesting.
I hope to see a lot of reverts. I'd like to see some of these like old super powerful decks kind of given back to us.
Yeah.
So like an example, this might make the community kind of annoyed at me, but like something that I really like to see is Zenith Blade rotated and reverted, so you can play Lee Sin, Targon again. You definitely can't just revert Zenith Blade because we have Pantheon in Standard. But
yeah.
like, yeah, let us play some Lee Sin and Eternal.
Yeah,
and-
I don't know. I think there are so many things people think are gonna be broken that. Or sorry, I think there are gonna be a lot of things that people think are gonna just be like, oh, whatever cards, and we're gonna realize like how much we miss those cards. Like, Vile Feast. I feel like it's on both ends where people are like, oh, like Vile Feast isn't like that scary, and there are people who are like, holy shit, dude, this Vile Feast card is so broken. Like, look at every card in the meta right now, and like Vile Feast solo carries any SI deck, and it's like
I still remember because I got like so many times people did this. I was like playing Darkness semi-frequently for like, I don't know, the past year and a half or something. Like metas would come and I'd be like, okay, I'm like kind of interested in Darkness again, so I'll play Darkness. And I remember like consistently I would end up wanting 5 ping effects, 5 two-mana pings. And without question, every meta, I would go 3 Vile Feast, 2 Pokey Stick. And without question, every time I did that, I would get messaged on Discord being like, why aren't you playing 3 Pokey Stick? And I was like, Vile Feast is better. I'd rather have 3 Vile Feasts. That card is unreasonable.
So good. Like Pokey sounds very good, and like we especially remember when we playing like the good now in a Tristana, like holy, Pokey is such a good card. And,
yeah,
like,
Poke's good.
but I definitely think
good.
that Tristana will not be good in Tristana. Even if she doesn't get any dash, I don't think she's gonna be good at all because a real card exists.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of cards that aren't going to be good in Standard nearly. Like I think Samira will probably be good just because she's really good, but I don't think like Samira Varus is going to be a deck. I don't think Samira Pantheon is going to be a deck. I don't even think Samira like
New Samira
Monkeys
deck
is going to be a deck. So
New Samira decks are gonna be a thing. I think maybe Monkey's gonna be still a thing. And I
Monkeys
wouldn't be able to
maybe.
surprise if they're gonna be 6 mana even, because like we're gonna get the new
Oh,
plunders that we lost.
I feel like Monkeys has to get nerfed, but the deck that I like feel like Samir is definitely gonna find is there has to be something with Legion, Rearguard, Crimson Pigeon, and Samira. Like,
yeah, I mean like
that
I was
is
playing on
so
today
messed up.
and I was playing it today on Eternal Ladder for just like farming some YouTube videos to get early Eternal content out there. I deadass killed everyone, but on turns 5 or 6, just over and over. I was just like, yeah, you're just dead. Like Avalanche deck, Avalanche healing deck with like SI Targon, where they're like healing a bunch and avalanching me. I was like, yeah, you're just like dead. Turn 6 through Avalanche. And it's just like, you know what that Avalanche card is really cool into? Dashing Dandy is like 4 HP, MF is 3 HP, Pigeon's 3 HP. I'm like,
yeah,
fun, man. Like,
I definitely think the like Samira Rearguard Crimson Pigeon deck is gonna be like horrifying to play against.
I think I've heard a lot of people say like, oh, Trundle Pillar. I just think that's too slow. I think
Yeah,
I deadass think the meta is going to be either insanely fast or insanely slow, and it's going to be hard to find something in between. I think that's my opinion.
I think reverts are really going to determine a lot of that because like if like Watcher gets fully reverted and we have like TLC that's like trying to suppress aggro, like imagine if like Watcher and Ravine get reverted and it's like, okay, that deck can keep aggro in check. That deck is messed up.
For sure.
It's like
But, like-
Harvester with like man, Harvester is pretty good. I'm excited honestly about that. But we're gonna see. Honestly, on Summer, I think like she needs to get nerfed. Like
Yes.
whenever she's gonna eventually make mistakes, issues. And honestly, what I'm thinking about changing now, and I think maybe that's maybe gonna kill the cat. I don't know, but making the challenger cost 2 mana, like pink cost 1, but challenger cost 2.
I don't know how to fix Samira because like we basically nerfed a bunch of stuff around Samira last patch, and that wasn't enough. I think it's like absolutely hilarious. I tweeted about this, but it's like absolutely hilarious that we basically had this Samira deck last patch, and people played it, and it was not the good Samira deck. Like,
yeah.
we literally had all of these cards, nothing got buffed for this deck. In fact, things got nerfed for this deck. We're like, you know what? This isn't even the good one. We have something better.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really know what to do about Samira. There's so many. The issue is like the same as last issue, where it's like there is no one thing or one card you can attack that solves every Samira deck issue. Because like you nerf the thing to 2 mana, you still have like Samira Jinx, which like do I think Samira Jinx is like broken? It's like not really, but that deck is still like really good. It doesn't give 2 fucks about Flare. You have Samira Seraphine, which is probably like the 4th best Samira deck, sure. But again, like that deck doesn't really care about Flare. Like if it can challenge something for free, cool. But like like so many things just don't care about so many parts of her.
I don't know how to fix her without like making a change where you like make her a 2/1, and like making her a 2/1 probably kills her. And it's like, I mean, I can definitely nerf Samira in a way that's going to fix the problem. I don't know if I can fix the problem in a way that like Samira remains relevant. So
yeah, it's definitely gonna be like a hard time for them. But yeah, I'm kind of worried about the balance page as well, honestly, because I think there might be some misses, but we're gonna see the meta. Always, if there's gonna be just good decks, then we're just gonna play the good decks, right? But you know, it's gonna be kind of messed up. But we will see. It's gonna be like 2 opens back to back, so it's gonna be, I think, very hype. That's gonna be like, you know, the gold ties. Like,
there's a lot of incentive to like try and really figure out Eternal, because you get 2 metas, like 2 opens in the same meta. So I think people are gonna try real hard.
Also, I think Eternal ladder gives points. I think anyone that's already not like top 20 on standard ladders probably just has better odds going for Eternal ladder, if I'm being honest, especially with how the LP looks right now. I don't know what the gap is. I know the gap between like literally rank 12 and rank 10 is like 100 LP. So as I'll pull it up right now, leaderboard in Americas. So top 25 is 1000 LP. So there's a 400 or 500 LP gap between top 25 and top 10, 600 LP gap. So like if you're not already there, I would probably recommend just going to Eternal. But I think Eternal ladder is just going to be slot machine city, just like it was in the past. Like in the past, our ladder just had so many decks that were like good that it was just like, okay, this deck beats this deck but loses to this. It was like anything you queue up is just gonna have polarizing matchups. I think it's going to be a bitch to climb, and I salute people like Card Gamer and Chekhov that probably have to climb Eternal.
So
yeah, good luck.
The real weird thing is you could still climb Standard.
Yeah,
I mean you can if you want to try and get 2000 LP in the time it took people 3 months to do it.
I could int. I don't need my LP anymore. I could int 2000 LP and not for
okay, just int like one under me. Like if I'm at like 1505, just go like 1504. Like still like gatekeep the other people, but let me in, you know.
There's just be the Simon Eckert. Come on, Drisoth, you have to do it.
Yeah,
if only there was still a Twitter that posted about it, and I could just like int off 2000 LP and get the banger tweet.
That Twitter was amazing. So
I would definitely int if there was a Twitter. I would definitely int 2000 LP just for that
in 24 hours.
Immortality.
I deadass don't think you can int 2000 LP in 24 hours.
So the actual concern I would have is like I would pretty much just have to like instantly FF games, and it's like I promise I'm not trying to abuse MMR. I'm actually trying to lose all my LP. But like as soon as people are like, oh my god, Drizoth's just like queuing and insta FFing, people are just gonna like hop on and try and get the free ride.
Yeah, that's like Ikado's thing too. Is so I don't know if he plans to do this. I don't know if he wants to do this. I'm not putting plans or words on Ikado's mouth. I'm just saying if Ikado dead ass wanted to get to top 10, there is the consideration out there to int away 100 games, right? He can't do this on stream, because if he's doing this on stream, people are just going to hop in and try and get free LP, and it looks like super sketchy. But even if he did it off stream, we've seen people do this already, and there hasn't been any punishment or any acknowledgement from Riot. Do you think it's different if a top like community member like Ikado or myself or you inted away 100 LP to fix their MMR so they could get more ladder points?
I think it is much more likely that Riot acts.
They act, but do you think they'll do anything like to Ikado? Because like
I
super
would not
scouting
be
was
surprised.
a thing.
Really? I don't think Riot would like ban Ikado. I do not think that is the thing. But I would say like somewhere in the realm of 10 to 20%, Riot would void the ladder placement. I don't think they would ban the account or anything, but I think they would just be like, you don't count for ladder. That's our punishment. Because it
It's
like
just running. It's just like running or something like be like.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Because in the past, anytime something's been brought up to Riot before that's been sketchy, it like from a community member, it's basically just forced them to make an issue or to make a like statement. They haven't like done anything to the community member themselves. Like the biggest thing is probably like super scouting is the easiest example. Like all the top players and streamers like super scouted, they would do like on stream.
Yeah.
But it basically took like my tweet, like I tweeted out, oh, this like super scouting thing. It wasn't called that time, but I was like, oh, this thing is like really cool. It helps you on ladder, makes things more competitive, and helps you like prepare for tournaments. And it got so big that Riot was like, okay, we're making a statement, don't do this thing. And like it brings attention. So it's like, is it worth bringing to Riot's attention like from a community member? Like, because there have been people that have tweeted at Ruben like, hey, like was it Kakowin was like, hey, I entered 100 games and now my MMR is screwed at Ruben too. But that's like different than Icado or Majin going like, "Hey, I entered 100 games and it do my thing." Like, I feel like, is the goal to like get Riot's attention on this thing? How do you do that?
Based Icado. Just I am Spartacus. We should use that as like stream titles. Everybody just says I am Spartacus.
And then it's just like you go into everyone just Runeterra streams and it's everyone just insta FFing.
Yeah.
And then like you queue into someone else trying to insta FF and you win. You're just like, no.
No.
Good,
That'd be
good
kind of
time.
funny. The race. For
Yeah,
FF.
I really hope they fix MMR stuff. I think once like Kakowin like actually did the int 100 games and try and climb, like it's pretty clear that like
I mean, multiple
systems
people are
fuck
doing
you
it
up.
now.
Yeah, I know more than one person is doing it, but like once someone actually did it and was like, this actually did what people thought it would, it was just like, oh, okay, the system is actually fucked. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't know.
Weird. Like I don't think it's just like I don't know. I would be scared, honestly. But
I think it would be
I
pretty.
wouldn't be scared. I would just be like, that's a lot of dedication. I'm just too lazy.
I
But like
think-
if I did it, I wouldn't be scared of getting banned. I would just be like, hey Riot, look, I did this thing and this happened, and then Riot would make a statement saying like, don't do this thing. I don't think anything would happen.
I think if you are wanting ladder points, I do not think the EV is there. Because I think it is more likely that you lose all your ladder points from Riot trying to give you a slap on the wrist than you get more ladder points from like abusing MMR stuff. So.
yeah, maybe I also think definitely that like you're gonna be just like you just abused our system. It was clear bug and like that's something I don't know exactly how TOs are worded, but maybe there's some like don't abuse bug if you find it or something like.
Yeah, like obviously not. They're gonna permaban you. Like that's not happening. That Riot would never permaban someone for that type of thing. But
especially after what we saw, right?
Yeah, I think it is so like easy from their perspective and such like a good slap on the wrist to like void your ladder placement that I think that's like not an unreasonable thing to occur. So
yeah. But I agree with that.
I mean, I don't think they should do that, Icado. I think the solution is they just like fix the horribly broken system. But from Riot's perspective, I think that's like the perfect punishment for someone doing that. Where it's like, you abused our system, you can't benefit from it. No other penalties from our perspective. And it's like, yeah, it like completely fucks the person that you did this to because they're doing it for worlds points. But like,
but
Riot
like,
doesn't want to
like,
perma you, so.
Is like that was for example my issue with like for example Kaiser and Sharpside block, right? Like people clearly abused it, like straight up, even though they knew that it's a bug. And then my issue was like, man, I don't think it's good, but like I didn't punish anybody for that, right? So like I don't like it's kind of weird then. It's clearly bugged as well, like as the Kaiser Sharpside was, but I guess I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
I guess any questions from the chat? I guess we don't have anything to talk about.
We are out of topics, so if there are questions, we can. Yeah, I remember Filthy with the Sharpside Kaisa bug. I remember running into a situation where I was playing Kaisa, and I needed to cast Sharpsight, and it also involved me. And I was like...
Yeah, I've had that happen. That happened multiple times where I just felt so bad because you're like, I'm winning. Like, it happened to... There was a Jinx bug a long time ago where you got infinite rockets. If you, like, played a Jinx rocket, went to attack, came back, it just gave you a Jinx rocket again. And there were times where I'd play against Karma, and I would like cast my Jinx rocket before combat, and then attack, and they would like palm me. And I'm just like, obviously I'm not gonna cast it, but like if you're just like a random player and this happens to you, how do you just like stop this random like non-figure person from just casting the second rocket against you if
Yeah.
you're playing Karma and you're just like, I'm sad.
Yeah. Anything like that where it was like, so uh, I think a good point of comparison would be like Shellfolk Lucky Find, where it was just like, okay, Lucky Find sucked ass. Like, if you put these two cards in a deck, like, we know what's going on.
Yeah.
But like these other bugs that were just like unavoidable, where it was just like, this bug is
I
here.
think Shuffle bug is closer to the latter bug abusing. I think like, but I don't know if we should call it bug abusing, but like it's it's like I guess it's like closer than like the Kaiser's
Oh.
actually like it made sense. Like you needed to play sharp side, otherwise your deck was much worse, right?
I remember there was one with Scion and Rumble when Rumble first came out, like during beta. Like it happened during the like early access thing with community with content creators, but then it was still happening day one, where if you discarded Scion with a Rumble, it bugged the game out. Like it crashed the game.
I had a bug like that a long time ago. So like when I first showed up on the scene, you could ask Henneke because I actually Twitter DM'd him because I found him because it happened to him. If you're playing TF Fizz and you cast a spell that leveled Fizz and snap attacked with your units, it disconnected both players on the spot. So yeah, and this happened in a game between me and Henneke, and that was the game that made me convinced I knew what triggered it. So it disconnected both players. I ult F4'd, went back in the game. Henneke did not reconnect and just like loses the game after the 3 priority passes or whatever. I DM'd this guy on Twitter and I'm just like, hey, did you get disconnected? Because I'm pretty sure I know what triggers this bug and I want to report it to Riot. And he's like, yeah, I got disconnected. And I was like, okay, cool. I reported it to Riot. It's gone now. This bug no longer occurs. But yeah, you just like cast a spell, attacked with your Fizz, and if you did it too fast, it's like the same thing with like Karma coins, where like if you coin play a card too quickly, there's like the visual bug with your mana. It was the same thing, but if you like cast spell, attack with Fizz, it just DCs both players.
It was the same thing, except one of them caused you to win the game and the other one didn't.
Yeah.
The other one's a mild convenience, and one of them won you the game. But basically the same thing.
Yeah, essentially the same. Yeah.
Straight Defense and Nexus was also like the best bug I think we ever had. Like.
Luckily that didn't make it to live though.
Stress Defense was hilarious.
Yeah, luckily that didn't make it to live. But yeah.
Any questions? Bot check.
We did have a question from Night Shadow about like what are people's thoughts on Ruthless Rumbles. I'm gonna be honest. I did not even have 2 buys for the open because I was too asked to play Gauntlet.
Good job.
I was grinding them. Yeah, the queues were long, but I think it's too hard to get the tokens. I think like people are not willing to pay the $5. So like I think maybe I should maybe give more tokens. I don't know, like, but it was so obvious that like I think people even wanted to pay the December, but they didn't want to spend $5.
Yeah.
And then they just ran out of the tokens. So like, the community just got low on them, right? Because every time if you queue, like it's most likely that you're gonna lose token, right? You're not gonna get them again. Like
I think there's MMR in the gauntlet, so I think they're pretty dumb. Because I think like I don't want to sit here and queue into really good players over and over if it's gonna cost me $5 or a $5 coin. So I basically got my 2 buys and then left. I did 2 Ruthless Rumbles to get my 2 buys. Both of them I played against really good players. So like I don't care about playing gauntlets more than I have to because there's MMR in them, and I don't want to play against top players when it costs me real money.
I played like 10 times, but I got from the last top cut, like I got the tokens, so I had like 3 of them. So I was like, I every time except one, I was just cycling them. So even though I was playing against good players, I got also good practice. So I was like, I was like, okay, it's like somewhat like tournament, so I'm gonna just play it.
Yeah,
I wanted the buys, right? Because of trophies. Tiebreaker, not biased, but tiebreakers.
That's what I was gonna say. I think if the tiebreaker was higher up, I'd probably care more to get more trophies if it wasn't such long queue times and such boring games. But like the games were either just like the lowest quality games possible because it gets to get some person having fun with their Rumble token, or it's like the sweatiest games ever for like multiple hours and then like 8-minute queue time. So I'm like, dude, I don't want to do this for like 6 more rebuys for like no reward outside of like once you have your buy, there's like no real reward for it. I'm not like doing the sweaty shit and then like also getting top 16 in a tournament for it. It's like I'm just doing it for fun.
Just
Yeah.
do well in the tournaments, then you don't have to deal with like
Yeah.
rumbles. Like
Also,
that.
good point. We had too many of Runeterra numbers. Like we had like week long, like only Runeterra numbers. So that's like, yeah, there's not gonna be that many people playing every day, right? Like, and that's
Aside
something
from that, there were also just like infinite buys, right? So it's just like they were week long and infinite buys. So it's like after the first day, the people that actually wanted to grind and care about them were probably done. Like maybe the first 2 days. So yeah, the next like 3 days or whatever that they were open, you just like didn't need to do that.
Yeah, I think there should be like more as well. Like, yeah, it's also like why they are like 4 days. I thought at the start that they were gonna be like on the weekend, you know, and like, but they just made them like the 4 day, the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And I think if they just make them Saturday, Sunday, and maybe even only one try or something, you know, that would be maybe more cool. Maybe even more rewards for them because I think
Yeah.
maybe the trophies isn't that like worth it. Like especially for the $5, I think like getting maybe up to 25 trophies for $5 isn't the best investment, right? So
Yeah. Do you think in the future you should be able to get 2 buys before the first open?
no.
Because like this time you're able to get 1 buy before the first open.
think
You,
the
you
one
like literally
buy-
could not.
I actually think too many trophies were accessible for both opens this time. I thought it was.
Do you think you should have got the second buy from the before the Ruthless Rumble or before the big open?
I think it was fine. So like the infinite rebuys fixed some of my problems where I felt it was difficult but achievable to get both, like to get 1 buy for the first open and get 2 buys for the second open. And I think that is a very bad space to be in. I think it should be reasonable but achievable for any of the goals. And like the first open was by far the worst, where it was technically possible, but you had to go max wins every rumble except for 1. And it was like, that is outrageous.
Yeah.
Because
I didn't have a buy for the first one because
I
I
didn't
like
either.
fucked around for 2 days, and then I fucked around for 2 days because I forgot they actually mattered. Because during beta season we had like 3 months of them not mattering, right? So my mental was just like, oh, these things are for fun, they don't matter. And then I looked and I was like, oh wait, no, these things are real, and I like literally cannot get them because I fucked around for 4 days.
Literally, you had 1 bad day and it was impossible to get to buy. And it's like so frustrating when it's possible to get, but hard.
Yeah. Yeah, so I like the infinite binds because it fixes that. It's like this thing is very hard, but like we had this day where you could like make up money and it's fine. So yeah.
Well, I think we're out of topics. So unless there are other questions. I thought first open didn't have any Ruthless Icado, but
The first one had 2 days of Ruthless, I think.
but if you didn't rebuy, you
days.
couldn't rebuy, right?
Oh.
Yeah, there were no rebuys. So I think you got like 50 tokens max from them.
No, you had 4 days. 4 days. You had
4
Thursday,
days.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, and you could get like 100. And I actually got like, I think I got like 90 or something. So I was like, I wasn't about to get a buy, but thanks to that I got a buy before the first
I
open.
see.
I could be wrong. I would believe Icado over me. So
Yeah. I played in them, so I remember that. So yeah.
Well, if we are done, I will.
Thoughts on the state of Shurima?
It's real bad.
Shurima sucks. Absolver
they-
was that entire region, and
Yeah.
it's gone. So,
I find it very silly when like with the rotation like reasoning given. I find like 2 things to be very silly for the same reason, and it's like Akshan not getting rotated and Nami not getting rotated. Where they're saying like we left these cards in the region to support something. With Nami, it's like Spellslinger. With Akshan, it's like this general build around. But they don't do that because these cards just suck, and it's like, what is the point? If they're gonna support something, they need to be good. If
maybe various said that, you know, maybe in various sets we're gonna see some buffs for action. Maybe
certainly there could be like a fix to this that involves like making these cards reasonable, but it's like very silly to me to see like this reasoning of like they're gonna support something, and it's like, well, they don't. Like we have a Spellslinger deck in Bilgewater, and it's Samira Fizz, and it doesn't want to play Nami. Like people put Nami in it, they did not make the right choice, but like that's a thing you can do. You can int with Nami. It like feels very similar to this thing where like we had like the Seraphine Victor deck in Ionia that everybody was playing, and people were like, Seraphine's so broken, I can carry a Karma with this. And you're like, yeah, you can carry Karma with it. Like, I don't know why you do that, but like, you can. And I think Akshan and Nami both have that property where it's just like, why is this around? Like, it doesn't do what you told me it's doing, so I don't know why it's here. Shurima needs significant help.
Yes.
Like, I think Nasus is like an okay spot, but like that deck isn't fantastic, and it's certainly like
Kai'Sa's good.
Kai'Sa's
good,
fine.
But that's Demacia.
The problem is like all of these Shurima decks are like
not
fine.
Shurima decks,
and like they're also not particularly Shurima focused. Like this Nasus deck really feels more like an SI deck. The Kai'Sa deck really feels more like a Demacia deck. And I think that's the end of it. Like
the Akshan deck is
Varus deck. Like
it's just a cultist deck.
like literally, where the hell is the like Shurima deck? Like Sundisk was the like super overtly Shurima deck, but like Rock Bear Shepherd, like nowhere to be found other than Nasus, which feels more like an SI deck. So like, what's going on with Shurima? I mean, like there was kind of this problem the entire time where Shurima just felt like Demacia 2.0, and then Shurima got a bunch of nerfs and important cards rotated, and now it's like Demacia 0.8.
Yeah.
But like also Targon has that problem. Like we just have 3 Demacias. So I don't know.
Yep. Huh? I don't think it's great. I don't think Shurima's great.
Yeah.
I think Freljord's in a healthier spot in Genius. It at least like has an identity. It's bad, but like it has an identity.
It's like a Ash, right? Like it is like Ash, and the Ash still decent. I guess, and Exotros maybe I was thinking about that. I feel like the decks are weak, but it has identity, right? Like the decks are weak. It needs like some buffs or something, but it's doing at least something, right? Like unique, I guess.
All right. Well, we're definitely over time, so
the classic. We are always over time.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just
try for an hour, probably go longer. So
yeah, card games are fun, I think.
All right. Well, I'll go see. Yeah, I'll go see if there's somebody